Hello everyone, my name is Glen. I'm also known as OU Fan of EndOfTrendTrading.com. This evening I would like to talk to you about a basic way of trading that I traded for many years back in the 80s. I first would like to go over the setup of the indicators that I use on my chart for this basic method. The first indicator I'd like to point out to you are the yellow dots at the cycle highs and cycle lows. These dots are my plot cycles. They do not plot immediately live when the cycle is made. They are 1 or 2 bars late usually, but they are for reference points only to show you that cycle highs and cycle lows. My next indicator I'd like to point out is my cycle moving average, which is this red line, dark red. It goes from red to dark red, and this area goes from green to dark green. When it is the light green color, it means we are in an uptrend. When it is a dark green color, it means we are in a pullback against an uptrend. In this area, when it is red, we are in a downtrend, and when it is dark red, it means we are in a pullback against a downtrend. The next indicator I'd like to point out is my G cycle stochastics. This indicator is the stochastics that I use, that the length is dynamically calculated for you. This is also my volume oscillator that I use, which also is dynamically calculated for you. You do not have to input a length for them. I'd like to point out 2 or 3 of the trades that on this chart that I would have taken to show you, and some that I would not have taken to show you the methods to cherry pick the trades when you're first beginning and you don't need to take 6, 8, 10, 12 trades a day, but you're looking for that 1 or 2 trades per day to have the higher chance of being profitable. The first trade that I'd like to point out to you, this had a good setup, and the setup is this: we must have had a green uptrend indicator that had went to dark green, and the low of the pullback in this area could not reach the cycle moving average. That means it could not come down and touch it. And then it must have a signal off the G cycle stochastics, must have a hook up, and we must have a volume oscillator that is higher normally than down in the 20 area for an up move. This was almost the perfect setup. The only thing I did not like about this trade was from this point, let me get the trend line indicator, from this point to this point was a large move. We had dissipated a lot of the strength of the market in this move. It did work out, but it was not a very large move. That's why I say you need it to more happen in this area. Now this area was not a bad trade, except the only reason I did not like it was the low of the move penetrated the cycle moving average, and the cycle moving average was very flat. You do need some slope, good upslope and an uptrend to take these trades. So I wanted to show you what a good setup looked like, but I probably would not have taken this trade because only because of the large move that we had already had. Let's back up in time just a little bit. Now this is an area that I'd like to show you that would have been a good trade. If you will notice, and I have written here, we had very few bars in the pullback. If you'll notice, very few bars were in this pullback area. The CMA has a good slope. We have a good slope on that particular area. Look at that, where you can read that a little better. If you'll notice also, the high of the pullback in this area could not reach the cycle moving average. We had a sell-off, we had a downtrend, sell-off, pullback, high could not reach cycle moving average. We had a nice slope to the moving average. We had a G cycle stochastic signal. It was actually a little even weaker than some of the other signals because it could not even make it above the 80 mark. But notice this, the G cycle stochastic, the G volume oscillator was very low and hooked down. All the setups for a good trade, and we had a nice move down. These are the cherry pick trades to take. We'll move a little bit farther back in time. I had marked this area. If you will notice, we had a downtrend in this area. We had a cycle moving average pullback in this area, and then we did have a move down. But if you will notice, the move was too large with volume oscillator so low. See how the volume oscillator was just laying in this area, and it was too large of a move. Had taken too many points, had dissipated too much of the move in that one move, and it turned out not to be a very good trade. This move was almost too large, but we have a good uptrend in the moving average. We have a pullback. If you notice, there's not too many bars in the pullback. We do have a good signal coming from our G-cycle stochastics. The only thing that makes this trade not perfect, but a good trade, was the G volume oscillator did give us a signal, but it had actually penetrated the 20 mark. You do not have to have a signal that always is way above the 20 mark, but the better signals were the ones like the ones I showed before. But this is a signal, and this would have been a good trade, because you can notice we had a nice slope, a nice signal. The move is almost too large, but not too large, and we had everything going for that trade that we needed. So what I'm trying to show you tonight is that you can cherry pick your trades. Just be sure that the high of any move that you're looking to take trade is in the cycle moving average pullback area. It does not reach the cycle moving average pullback area, and then you have a sell-off, and you must have a signal. This trade, everything with the setup was good for this trade, except we had a large move. This move was almost too large. We had a good setup because we had very few bars in the cycle moving average pullback area. The low of the move did not reach the cycle moving average, and we had a good signal off the G-cycle stochastics, a good cycle off the volume oscillator. Even though the volume oscillator was a little bit lower than I like to see it, that was a good signal. But the trade that I'd like for you to remember about that I showed you, this one, this is the type trade I really like for you to look at. Very few bars in the pullback area, good slope to the indicator. The high of the move in the pullback area did not reach the moving average. The stochastics oscillator turned down weak enough it did not even reach up above the 80 mark on this down move, and the volume oscillator had a hook down and very weak, and look at the move we had. These are the type moves you want to look for. These are cherry picking the trades. Don't trade very much when your moving average is flat. Notice the flat area right in this area, flat right in this area, or even, let me show you an area cutting right through price constantly. These are not good areas to cherry pick. Now, some of our more sophisticated methods, they work well, but these are not good cherry picking trades. When you only want 1 or 2 good trades a day, or 4 to 5 good trades per week, this is a method you need to look at and study. And I do have the cycle moving average set to 34 on these charts, not 21. Now, on our normal setups where we use the master indicator and the master key, I do set the indicator, the cycle moving average, to 21. But when I'm trading my old basic method, I set it to 34. So I hope this method will help you if you are a beginner and are not that sophisticated yet, or really are not able to take that many trades per day. Look at this method and study it, and I will try to have updates to this method because it is the method that I learned to trade with. I traded very few times, but I tried to look for the best accurate trades I could take. Thank you and have a good evening.